CEO of Espírito Santo's investment bank, about what's happening in the region's banks. Jose Maria Riccardi joins us now. Very nice to see you. Let's start off with that question. A lot of questions being asked around Europe about the banking sector. How stable is the Portuguese sector?
Good morning. I think it's pretty stable, and that the Portuguese banks are now very well capitalized. And I think that it's not in this moment the issue for the Portuguese banks. They, contrarily to other situations that happen in Europe, it was not because of the banks in Portugal that we had our crisis, and the banks suffered from the crisis and not the other way around. So they are for sure struggling with what is going on in our economy, but I think that they are very well capitalized, and now they are beginning to come back to the markets, and the liquidity of their liquidity is now better than it was before, but still they are not in, I will say, in the situation they were before, but much better than they were 1 year ago.
Would you welcome another LTRO from the ECB?
Yes, but I think in this moment the banks have already reduced their exposition to the ECB, and in this moment what I think that is not, in my opinion, the most important issue for the banks. As I said, the liquidity now is better. And what the banks now need, like I think almost everything in my country, is the improving of our economy. And the only way, as you know, for improving our economy is the growth. It's to come back to the growth of the economy. This is the most important issue for the Portuguese.
And what is constraining that growth at the moment? Because if you listen to central bankers, they'll tell you that there is a credit crunch underway in many parts of the Eurozone, that the availability and price of credit is still not right to be able to support growth. Is that something that you would agree with when it comes to Portugal?
Yes, I will not say credit crunch, but something near that. And in my opinion, which I think is a very controversial one, is that after the crisis that began in 2008 in the United States, I think that the regulators thought that the solution was to increase considerably the capitals of the banks. And this, in my opinion, they went too far. And this is one of the reasons why the banks now, they cannot concede the credit as they could before. And in my opinion, when you had those problems on the banks, if you have 7% of quarter one, or 6, or 8, or 9, it's completely different, because this is much more a supervision problem. And when, you know, the banks had the problems having 10% or 6, it was exactly the same, because normally all the capital was destroyed. So I think that the regulators has made the confusion between doing a much better supervision of the financial system, that those high amounts of capital, that, as I think it was a cause for this problem.
So we should get rid of Basel III?
Sorry?
We get rid of Basel III? Should we rethink what we're doing at the moment?
I think that it's better to invest more in the supervision than asking still more capital for the banks. It's my opinion.
When you talk to your clients, what are they saying to you about availability of credit, their desires to invest? What are they telling you? What's the other side of the table saying?
You know, this is the key issue for my country, and I think also for the majority of the European countries, namely in the Eurozone. It's the growth of the economy. And I think that the first priority for my country, and for, as I said, for many countries in Europe, with some exceptions, it's growth. The first priority. The second is growth, and the third is growth. I know that's very easy to speak about it, but I don't see any way of changing the situation where we are without.
Do you blame Germany?
It's not a question of blaming Germany. I think that, for sure, Germany, having the importance it has in Europe, has a part of it. But what I think is that when we speak about growth of economy, we speak about investment.
Yep.
And people say, but in this moment there is no money for investment. And we must first solve our imbalances of our external deficits and our public budgets deficit. But what I say is that if you don't put this issue on the political agenda in my country and in Europe, then I think it's going to be much more difficult to try to do it. And without that, and only with the austerity measures that you can see in my country, like in other countries, we will not solve the problem.
Jose Maria, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Growth, growth, and growth. The message from Espirito Santo.